Stop whatever you're doing and listen closely, because what you're about to read has the power to completely alter the direction of your life. Or you can ignore it and stay exactly where you are, stuck in the same spot for the next decade. Just a few days ago, I watched something that burned itself into my mind. A man stood in front of another person for nearly 20 minutes, justifying himself, explaining his choices, begging to be understood by someone who clearly didn't respect him in the first place. He poured out his energy to someone unworthy of even a moment of his time. And what hit me hardest wasn't his words, it was the look in his eyes. That quiet, desperate hope that if he could just explain himself one more time, maybe he'd finally be treated like he mattered. This isn't rare. These men are everywhere. Maybe you've been that man. Maybe you still are. Maybe you can see yourself in his story, tired of being dismissed, underestimated, overlooked, and treated like a shadow in a world full of noise. But here's the truth. You weren't born insecure. You weren't born apologizing for existing. You weren't born desperate for scraps of respect. You were trained, shaped, and conditioned into it. Layer by layer, people taught you to be predictable. They programmed you to be controllable. They trained you to shrink so others could feel bigger. But 500 years ago, a man named Machiavelli saw through the illusions. He rejected the polished lies society feeds us about power and influence. He uncovered the raw, unfiltered principles of strength, control, and leadership principles that have shaped rulers, empires, and unstoppable individuals ever since. He didn't write a book of polite rules. He wrote a manual for real-world power. And today, his ideas still stand as a guide for anyone who wants to become unshakable, unmovable, and unstoppable. That's what I'm talking about. Becoming the person who walks into a room and every head turns. The one whose presence shifts the atmosphere without saying a word. The kind of person who sets a boundary once and never has to repeat it. The person who can't be intimidated, manipulated, or derailed. The one who doesn't demand respect, but naturally commands it. Someone who plays by different rules because he's operating at a different level. In the next few minutes, I'm going to walk you through a new set of principles, ones that can take you from invisible to undeniable, from hoping for respect to embodying it, from living passively to acting deliberately. But I need to warn you, once you understand these truths, you can't unlearn them. Once you see how influence actually works, you can never go back to the old way of being. Once you step into real power, you can never return to the smallness you're used to. Before we begin, drop this in your mind or even write it down. I refuse to be held back. I refuse to be stopped. That's the mindset you need. Because this isn't about quick tricks or empty slogans. This is about transformation. Principle 1. Rebuild your inner core. Inside you right now, there are two versions of yourself constantly fighting for control. One is timid, apologetic, and desperate for approval. The other is solid, self-assured, and naturally respected. Every day, with every choice, you feed one and starve the other. Today, you're going to reverse the pattern. That hesitant version of you. It isn't your true self. It's a persona built by years of conditioning. It's the voice that whispers, "Be nice," when someone disrespects you. It's the impulse that makes you apologize when you've done nothing wrong. It's the part of you that bends over backward, explaining yourself to people who should be explaining themselves to you. This programming began early. Parents told you to be good. Teachers demanded obedience. Society taught you to fit neatly into its boxes. But good doesn't build empires. Obedient doesn't command influence. Manageable men become invisible men, and invisible men get passed over, ignored, and forgotten. This hesitant self has been making choices for you your entire life. It's the reason you tolerate disrespect. It's why you hand out endless second chances. It's why you place other people's needs so far above your own that you barely recognize yourself anymore. It's why you're reading this right now, instead of living the life you dream about. Here's the uncomfortable truth your hesitant self doesn't want you to hear. Every time you extend kindness to someone who has shown they don't deserve it, you're being cruel to yourself. Every time you allow someone to cross your boundaries without consequence, you're training them to believe your boundaries don't matter. Machiavelli once wrote, "A man who does not rule himself will be ruled by others." This is your wake-up call. Your hesitant self and your powerful self speak different languages. Hesitant self says, "I don't want to upset anyone." Powerful self says, "I won't compromise my standards." Hesitant self says, "Maybe I misunderstood." Powerful self says, "I understood exactly, and I won't tolerate it." Hesitant self says, "I should give them another chance." Powerful self says, "They had their chance, and they used it." Transforming your inner self isn't about anger. It's about strategy. It's about refusing to justify boundaries. It's about enforcing them quietly, firmly, and without explanation. It's about replacing emotional reactions with deliberate action. Every time someone tests you, resist the urge to explain. Simply enforce. Every time someone wastes your time, stop making excuses for them. Protect your time as if it's gold, because it's island. Start noticing which voice is making your decisions. The next time you're about to apologize for something that wasn't your fault, stop. The next time you're about to explain yourself to someone who owes you an apology, don't. This isn't about becoming harsh, it's about becoming whole. Choose strength over approval. Choose respect over being liked. Choose influence over popularity. Your hesitant self will fight you. It will whisper fears of rejection. It will bring up every time you've tried to be strong and failed. It will try to convince you that power is bad or arrogant. Let it protest, let it whine, let it crumble, because on the other side of that resistance is a man who doesn't apologize for existing. A man who doesn't explain himself to those who don't matter. A man who doesn't plead for respect but embodies it effortlessly. Feed your powerful self. Starve your hesitant self. That's the first step. Principle 2. Construct a fortress mind. Your mind can either be your strongest weapon or your weakest chain. Right now, for most men, it's chaos. Criticism cuts like a blade. Setbacks feel personal. Challenges trigger panic. This chaos keeps you small. Today, you're going to start building a fortress inside your head, a mental stronghold that no insult, disappointment, or manipulation can breach. A fortress mind doesn't react emotionally to external events. It processes them strategically. When someone criticizes you, your fortress mind doesn't feel wounded. It sees data. It reads the criticism not as an attack on your identity, but as information about the other person's character. When someone lets you down, your fortress mind isn't shocked. It's prepared. It sees confirmation of what it already suspected. Most men are dragged through life by their emotions. Anger makes them reckless. Hurt makes them weak. Fear paralyzes them. Their emotions are wild horses pulling them wherever impulses want to go. But your fortress mind harnesses those horses. It treats emotions as signals, not commands. Anger tells you someone crossed a line. Pain tells you someone revealed their true colors. Fear tells you growth is near. Nothing more, nothing less. Stop taking things personally. When someone disrespects you, they're revealing their nature, not yours. When someone tries to manipulate you, they're exposing their desperation, not your weakness. Machiavelli wrote, "A wise man acts in the present, shaping the future." That's fortress thinking. Train your mind to see patterns instead of isolated incidents. The person who misleads you once will mislead you again. The friend who gossips about others to you is probably gossiping about you to others. The person who disrespects you when they think they can get away with it will do it again if you let them. Your fortress mind views every interaction as a lesson. Every conversation reveals values. Every conflict exposes priorities. Every disappointment shows you who people truly are. This doesn't mean becoming emotionless. It means becoming unshakable. You still feel things deeply, but your feelings no longer control your decisions. Logic drives your choices. Strategy drives your actions. Influence shapes your life. While most men have minds like fragile glass that shatter under pressure, you're forging steel. Build your fortress. Make it so strong that no insult or betrayal can reach your core. Write this into your identity. My mind is a fortress. My thoughts are tools. That's how unshakable men are made. Principle 3. Wield the power of silence. The loudest person in the room is almost always the least secure. He talks because he's nervous. He explains because he's unsure. He argues because he's starving for validation. You're going to be different. You're going to master silence, the highest form of presence. Silence is a weapon most men never learn to use. When you stop explaining yourself, people start respecting you. They stop challenging your choices. They stop testing your boundaries. They start wondering what you know that they don't. Here's the secret. You do know something they don't. You know that your worth doesn't hinge on their approval. You don't owe anyone a justification for your standards. You don't have to defend your boundaries. Every time you explain yourself to someone who's challenging you, you hand them authority over you. Think of the most powerful, influential people you've ever met or heard of. Do they constantly explain themselves? Do they justify every move? Do they argue with everyone who questions them? No. They decide and act. They set standards and maintain them. They speak when it matters, and when they do, every word lands with impact. Machiavelli wrote, "The lion does not need to roar to be respected. Silence creates intrigue. When people can't easily read you, they start imagining depth and strategy. They assume you're planning something bigger than they can see. They give you influence you never even asked for. But this only works if, when you do speak, your words carry weight. Because you're selective with words, people listen. Because you don't waste words, every sentence counts. Because you don't over-explain, when you finally speak, everyone stops to hear it. Practice strategic silence starting today. When someone accuses you of something ridiculous, don't defend yourself. Observe calmly. When someone demands answers you don't want to give, don't explain, just say no. When someone tries to drag you into drama, don't engage. Simply step away. Watch what happens. People who are used to getting reactions from you won't know how to handle the new you. They'll either escalate and expose themselves or back down entirely. Either way, you win. Silence also shields you from your own impulsive words. How many men have destroyed opportunities with things they blurted out in the heat of the moment? How many conflicts could have been avoided by refusing to take the bait? The man who wields silence never has this problem. Let others fill the air with noise. You'll fill the space with presence. Let them waste energy on chatter. You'll conserve yours for decisive action. Silent men are influential not because they're intimidating, but because they're unpredictable. No one knows what you're thinking. No one knows what you're planning. No one knows when you'll make your move. That mystery is power. Let them speculate. Let them puzzle. Let them feel the weight of what they can't immediately figure out. Mystery makes them cautious, and caution creates respect. The less they know about you, the more their imaginations work over time. That is your hidden weapon. That is your edge. Your quiet strength speaks louder than any speech, louder than any argument, louder than any defense. Use it as your shield, your sword, and your armor. Write this in your mind and leave it in the comments. My silence carries more force than their noise. But silence alone is not enough. Life will not give you respect just because you stay quiet. The world is a series of tests, each designed to see whether you will fold, fight, or rise. And one of the most brutal tests you will face is disappointment. People will fail you. They will betray you. They will turn their backs on you at the very moment you thought they would stand with you. This is not pessimism. This is reality. Accepting this truth is the first step to mastering it, because once you stop expecting perfection from others, their failures no longer feel like personal attacks. They become information. They become fuel. Your closest friend may choose their own gain over your bond. The person you thought was your ally may trade loyalty for money. Those you trusted may vanish when the stakes are high. This is the way of human nature. Most men crumble when this happens. They sit in shock, trying to figure out how someone could treat them this way. They replay conversations. They hunt for clues they missed. They waste months bleeding out energy on confusion. But you're going to be different. You're going to see disappointment as data. Every setback is a mirror showing you who people are under pressure. Every letdown is a flashlight, exposing the cracks in their character that you couldn't see in the light of comfort. There is a hidden gift in being disappointed. Before someone disappoints you, you have illusions. You think they're stronger than they are, kinder than they are, more reliable than they are. After they disappoint you, those illusions are gone. In their place is clarity. That's power. Clarity is power. Machiavelli wrote that people are fickle, self-serving, and easily swayed. The man who grasps this truth is never blindsided because he designs his plans with this reality in mind. He assumes people will act for themselves first. He prepares for allies to drift. He never stakes his future entirely on someone else's hands. And here's the deeper secret. Disappointment is a signal you're leveling up. People don't betray those beneath them. They betray those rising above them. They don't resent mediocrity. They resent movement. They don't envy the powerless. They envy the man climbing. If you're experiencing disappointment often, it means you're becoming someone who has something worth envying, someone whose presence stirs up hidden motives in others. Wear this as a badge. Let it teach you. Respond to disappointment like a tactician, not a victim. Don't spend days bleeding over feelings. Spend minutes extracting lessons. What weakness in your approach did this expose? How can you harden your system so it won't happen again? Sometimes, the right response to betrayal is absolute removal. No drama, no warning, no speeches, just gone. Cut the tie. Protect your time, energy, and peace. Sometimes, though, the right move is patience. Store the information, bide your time, and when the right moment comes, turn their unreliability into your advantage. Either way, you are in control. Disappointment is your graduate course in human nature. It teaches you who deserves trust and who deserves caution. It shows you how to secure your vulnerabilities. It forces you to build self-reliance instead of people dependence. Most men let disappointment harden them into bitterness. You're going to let it sharpen you into precision. Because when you've been abandoned, but you're still standing, when you've been betrayed, but you're still moving, when you've been disappointed over and over, and yet you're still rising, that's when you know you've become unstoppable. And once you're unstoppable, you stop wasting time arguing with critics. That's the next principle. Small men spend their days debating strangers who will never like them. They defend, explain, and justify themselves to people who haven't earned the right to question them. They burn hours trying to prove their worth to minds that decided long ago not to see it. You're going to do the opposite. You're going to make their criticism irrelevant. How? By winning. By producing results so undeniable that argument dies before it starts. Critics aren't your problem. Your reaction to critics is your problem. Every time you argue with a critic, you put them on your level. You're telling the world their opinion matters enough to fight over. You're elevating them to equal footing. Stop. Stop dignifying bad faith attacks with thoughtful replies. Stop treating every random voice like it deserves your energy. Most of the loudest opinions come from the least accomplished people. Why are you taking their judgment seriously? The path to silencing critics isn't through clever comebacks. It's through performance. When your results roar louder than their complaints, the noise dies in their throats. When your achievements make their words look ridiculous, they stop saying them. As Machiavelli observed, no one overcomes reality with complaints, but you can overwhelm doubt with discipline and proof. Choke gossip with visible success. Suffocate envy with undeniable growth. Every minute you waste defending yourself is a minute you're not sharpening your skills. Every hour you spend arguing online is an hour you're not stacking wins. Let your work speak. Let your progress answer. Let your results close the mouths. When you excel, their criticism turns into something else, envy. And envy is respect, hiding under a mask. The man building empires doesn't debate with people who've built nothing. The man commanding respect doesn't explain himself to people who've never commanded anything. The man shaping his future doesn't take strategy tips from the audience. Critics will always exist. That's not a glitch. That's the cost of standing out. Accept it. Use it as fuel. When someone says you can't, let that sharpen your determination. When someone doubts your path, let your success make their doubts look foolish. The goal isn't to win every argument. The goal is to make argument pointless. So write this in your mind. I silence critics with success, not with words. Post it. Live it. Prove it. Then there's your reputation. Most men drift through life letting others define how they're perceived. They leave their image to chance. They let other people tell their story. You're going to seize it like a weapon. Your reputation isn't just about appearance. It's about the entire atmosphere you bring into a room. It's the emotional temperature you set without speaking. It's the story people tell about you when you're not there. Your reputation starts before you open your mouth. People judge within seconds. They're deciding how much respect to give you, how much influence to grant you, and how much space to allow you. Don't leave that to chance. Control it. Your energy, your posture, your tone, your eye contact, all of it sends signals. Stop filling every silence with chatter. Stop explaining every choice. Stop revealing every plan. The less you reveal, the more they respect. Mystery magnetizes. Don't pour out your life story to strangers on the first conversation. Don't broadcast your strategies to people who haven't earned trust. Don't hand your competition a blueprint to your moves. Make them curious. Make them guess. Let your reputation precede you like a powerful aura. People should already know your standards before they test them. They should already sense your boundaries before they push them. They should already respect your capability before they experience it. As Machiavelli noted, people judge more by what they see than by what you actually do. Use that. Your physical presence tells a story before you speak. Enter every room like you own the space. Walk like you're heading somewhere vital. Sit like you're in control even when you're silent. Your response to pressure reveals your essence. When chaos erupts, be the still point. When others panic, be the steady one. When others lose control, be the anchor. Consistency builds trust. Be the same under praise as under pressure. Be the same when winning as when struggling. Be the same in public and private. Let your actions write your legend. When you need distance, take it fully. When you need to hold your ground, hold it completely. When you need to make a statement, make it unforgettable. But let your competence do most of the talking. Be so reliable you're the solution, not the problem. Influence without competence is noise. You decide who you are. You decide how people will remember you. You decide what you stand for. Don't let past mistakes chain you. Don't let other people's opinions become your mirror. Control your narrative deliberately. Protect it fiercely. Use it strategically. And write this in your mind. I control my reputation. My presence commands respect. Finally, there's the discipline of excellence. Most men treat excellence like a switch they flip on for special moments. A presentation, a confrontation, a big opportunity. But real power is built in the invisible moments, the boring routines, the small choices when no one is watching. Excellence is not a mood. It's a discipline. It's a standard you live by every day. How you wake up when you want to stay in bed. How you handle minor frustrations. How you treat people who can't benefit you. How you respond when nobody's keeping score. These are the moments that forge character, and your character shapes your destiny. Comfort is the quiet enemy. Comfort makes you predictable. Predictable makes you controllable. Controllable makes you invisible. The man who chooses comfort over growth chooses stagnation over progress. He chooses average over exceptional. He chooses to stay where he is rather than go where he could be. Machiavelli said, "Fortune favors the disciplined." Your daily practices become your superpowers. When you do what you said you'd do, especially when you don't feel like it, you build unshakable trust in yourself. You become unstoppable. Your standards become your foundation. When you're clear on what you stand for, no one can sway you. When you're clear on what you will not tolerate, no one can push you. When you're clear on your non-negotiables, no one can negotiate you down. Build habits that forge steel in you. Rise early even when you're tired. Train your body even when you'd rather rest. Do the hardest task first, even when you want to procrastinate. Keep your word even when it's inconvenient. These aren't just habits. They're your training grounds. Every time you choose discipline over comfort, you're proving to yourself that you control your life, not your impulses. People will call you extreme. They'll call you intense. They'll tell you to take it easy. These are the same people who'll be begging for your help when their undisciplined lives crumble. Excellence isn't about impressing others. It's about becoming someone you respect. It's about being the kind of man who doesn't have to demand respect because it radiates off him. It's about forging yourself into a force of nature through quiet, consistent action. So commit to this. I silence critics with success. I command respect with my presence. I rise by discipline, not by chance. Write it, post it, live it. Because on the other side of this transformation is the man who doesn't apologize for existing. The man who doesn't explain himself to those who don't matter. The man who doesn't beg for respect because he commands it naturally. The man who is, at last, unstoppable. Let others stay with the quick fixes. You're embracing what lasts. Let them grab for instant gratification while you choose lasting power. Let them stay in their comfort zones while you step into mastery. Let excellence be the code you live by. Let discipline be your daily devotion. Let strength become the ritual you protect above everything else. Because when life inevitably throws its challenges at you, and it will, the man who has built himself on discipline will rise, while the man who built his life on comfort will crumble. This is the point where everything you've been practicing unites. This is the threshold most never cross. This is where you stop being ordinary and start being something more. This is where you become unshakable, unbending, and impossible to defeat. Being unstoppable isn't about never facing pain. It's about being untouchable on the inside, no matter what happens on the outside. People can attack your ideas, but they won't shake your focus. They can betray you, but it won't surprise you. They can challenge you, but they can't destroy you. To be unstoppable is to hold a state of inner freedom that most think is impossible: independence from opinions, freedom from reactions, and immunity from needing approval. This isn't about being cold. It's about being strategically intelligent with your emotions. You still care, but you don't crave validation. You still love, but you don't need love to feel whole. You still connect, but you're not dependent on connection to survive. Let people label you confident, self-assured, independent. Accept every label without defense or explanation. Average minds will try to drag you back into the crowd because they don't understand strength at this level. Refuse to descend. You've moved past their level. Your influence now comes from control over yourself, not control over others. Your strength comes from your discipline, not from applause. Your victories arise from your own standards, not from external recognition. As the strategist once said, "The one who conquers himself is the greatest warrior." That's what you're becoming. Someone who doesn't wait for permission, someone who doesn't ask for approval, someone who doesn't beg for cooperation. This doesn't mean you isolate yourself. It means you become intentional. You hand out access to your time and energy like the precious resource it island. You choose who gets to influence you. You choose who gets to walk beside you. That's what unstoppable men do. They operate from abundance, not desperation. They know they have options, so they don't cling to outcomes. They have built internal power so great that outside support is a bonus, not a necessity. Their character is so fortified that judgment and gossip bounce off them like arrows against armor. But know this: the moment you reach this level, you'll be tested. People will prod at your weaknesses, trying to find your soft spots. They'll push buttons to see if you still react. They'll look for cracks in your foundation. Let them try. They'll waste their energy because you've removed the handles they could once grab onto. You've upgraded yourself. You've learned the power of silence. You've turned pain into fuel. You've hidden your vulnerabilities. You've cultivated a reputation that works for you, not against you. You've trained excellence until it became your normal state. This is no longer theory. This is transformation. You are no longer just improving. You've crossed into a new identity. When critics throw insults, you don't even slow down. When doubters whisper, you rise anyway. When challengers attempt to break you, they wear themselves out while you continue to climb. That's what makes you untouchable. That's what makes you legendary. You began this journey as one version of yourself, but the person who's reading these words right now is not the same. Something in you has shifted. This understanding isn't just information, it's an ignition. It's power. It's a complete reset of how you see yourself. You now know the foundations of influence that can't be shaken. You know how to replace uncertainty with confidence. You know how to build a mind like a fortress. You know how to wield silence as a weapon. You know how to turn setbacks into raw energy. You know how to protect your reputation like a master strategist. You know how to practice excellence until it becomes instinct. And above all, you know how to make yourself unstoppable. This is your evolution. This is your awakening. This is the identity shift that will echo through every part of your life. From this moment forward, the world will test your new strength. People will press on your boundaries. Old habits will whisper to you, trying to pull you back. Don't go back. You've climbed too far. You are no longer the man who tolerates disrespect. You are the man who commands respect by his very presence. You are no longer the man who hopes for opportunities. You are the man who creates them. You are no longer the man who lets circumstances dictate his path. You are the man who bends circumstances to his vision. You've been equipped. You've been transformed. You've been made unstoppable. Your uncertain self is gone. Your mental fortress stands. Your silence is sharp. Your setbacks are fuel. Your vulnerabilities are hidden. Your reputation is in your control. Your discipline is unshakable. Your unstoppable status is here. You cannot be held back because your influence transcends words. You cannot be broken because your strength is now absolute. You cannot be stopped because the moment you chose transformation over comfort, you chose victory. The world is waiting for you to take your place.